everybody, I'm TH, and with me this spooky Halloween is my good friend and buddy Recurring. Say hi, Guy.
Hi, guys.
And we have a Halloween special for you. And Recurring is not going to bury me alive, despite what I said about her mother last week.
Technically, she's got a microphone in the place I've hidden her.
Yep. And I can tell. Nah, 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 nah.
That's what she thinks.
Anyway, we have a couple of very spooky stories for you, so without further ado, I'll shut up.
And we get a howl on.
Yeah. Hope you enjoy, guys. Bye for now.
The Hook. One night, a teenage boy and his girlfriend headed to their local lover's lane so they could spend some time together. The girl was a little bit afraid because on that day she had heard over the radio of a man who had escaped from the local insane asylum, known as the Hook. His hand has been mangled in an instant, and he had had it replaced with a hook because of no prosthetics available at the time. The night was dark when the teenagers cuddled up together. Another announcement was made over the radio to warn people about the Hook and to stay vigilant. The young girl pulled away from the boy scared, asking him if he could go home. Just then, the car started to shake and the doors rattled. The teens peered outside but could not see anyone there. The car shook vigorously again once more, and the boy decided it was time to leave, and so they sped away. On the way home from their date, the couple decided to stop off at the late-night diner for some coffee and chicken. Once they got out of the car, what did they see? Long scratches down the sides of the car and a hook stuck in the handle of the car door.
Alone by Edgar Allan Poe. From childhood's hour I have not been, as others were I have not seen, as others saw I could not bring my passions from a common spring. From the same source I have not taken, my sorrow I could not awaken, my heart to joy at the same tone, and all I loved alone. Then, in my childhood, in the dawn of a most stormy life was drawn, from every depth of good and ill, the mystery which binds me still, from the torrent or the fountain, from the red cliff of the mountain, from the sun that round me rolled in its autumn tint of gold, from the lightning in the sky as it passed me flying by, from the thunder and the storm, and the cloud that took the form, when the rest of heaven was blue, of the demon in my view.
"50-Cent Piece," a New York ghost story. There is a story told in Troy and Albany about a couple returning home from a trip to New England. They were driving home in a carriage and were somewhere near Spiegeltown when the light failed, and they knew that they'd have to seek shelter for the night. The husband spied a light through the trees and turned the horse into a small lane leading up a hill. A pleasant little house stood at the crest. An old man and his wife met the couple at the door. They were in their nightclothes and were obviously about to turn in, but they welcomed the travellers and offered them a room. The old woman bustled about making tea and offering freshly baked cakes. Then the travellers were shown to their rooms. The husband wanted to pay the old couple for their lodgings, but the old lady shook her head, and the old man refused any payment for such a small service to the fellow New Yorkers. The travellers awoke early and tiptoed out of the house, leaving a shiny 50-cent coin on the counter of the kitchen table, where the old couple could not miss it. The husband hitched up the horse and went a few miles before they broke their fast at a little restaurant in Spiegeltown. The husband mentioned the nice old couple to the owner of the restaurant, and the man turned pale. "Where did you say this house was?" he asked. The husband described the location in detail. "You must be mistaken," said the restaurant owner. "That house was destroyed 3 years ago by a fire that killed the Brown family." "I don't believe it," said the husband flatly. "Mr. and Mrs. Brown were alive and well last night." After debating for a few more minutes, the couple and the restaurant owner drove the carriage back out of town towards the old Brown place. They turned into the lane, which was overgrown with weeds. They climbed the hill to the crest. There they found a burnt-out shell of a house that had obviously not sheltered anyone in a long time. "I must have missed the track," said the husband. And then his wife gave a terrified scream and fainted into his arms. As he caught her, the husband looked into the ruin and saw a burnt table with a shiny 50-cent piece lying in the center.
Always be nice to your neighbours. Written by Christine Druger from Creepypasta. When someone asks you about your dream home, how do you respond? It might be an apartment in a big city, a big house in a farm, or, if you're like me, a cosy house with a white picket fence in the suburbs. My husband and I moved into my dream home about 5 years ago. It's located in a tiny town, one of those places where everyone knows everyone and no one locks their doors. About a 30-minute drive from the city. We thought we found the perfect place. We were so very wrong. You see, the thing about people is that you never really know them. It's common in this kind of town, and everywhere really, to come across the type of people who seem to be the nicest and most normal human beings on the planet, but who are different monsters behind closed doors. Usually it's nothing more than a hidden alcoholism or drug use, secret affair, or domestic violence. But even Jeffrey Dahmer seemed like an okay guy. We all know what skeletons were in his closet and fridge. The weirdness started a few months ago when our new neighbour moved in next door. He kept to himself. He didn't talk to anyone except for the occasional visitors that came from out of town to see him. They were a catalyst for rumours. I heard he was a drug dealer, that he'd been in and out of prison, that he was cut from his family's lives for touching his nephew or niece, but they hadn't reported it out of pity. It was quiet, a little creepy, but he seemed okay to me. Apparently I'm an idiot. A couple of weeks ago, my sister was leaving my house late at night when she noticed the dome light on her car was on. Someone had been in there. It seemed. She ran back inside and alerted my husband, who then walked her back out and took a look round to see if he could find the intruder. They heard footsteps on my neighbour's porch, but couldn't actually see anyone. My husband called out but received no response. The next day, he spoke with another neighbour about the incident, to warn him to lock his car at night. That neighbour told my husband he had spotted someone in the bushes across from his house 2 weeks prior and chased the person to the house next to mine before he lost the guy. A few days after the chase, someone broke an upstairs window trying to get into the house, while he and his family slept. The whole neighbourhood was freaked out. We had our suspicions that the new guy was the culprit, but we had no proof. No one had been able to see his face when he was busted. No one could say whether he had been chased to his house, or if the person running had simply hidden in his porch or in his backyard. The local police agreed to increase patrols in our area, and things quieted down for a while. That was until this past weekend. It was late on Saturday, around midnight, when I heard what sounded like power tools running. There's a house nearby that's being renovated by the family that lives there, so I just assumed they were finishing a project before turning it in or something. I didn't really care for about 45 minutes later when I saw the flashing lights outside my window. I went outside to see 3 police cars, an ambulance and a small crowd gathering in front of the house next door. No one seemed to know what the hell was going on for once. The only information I could gather was that an old lady, who lived a few doors down, had called the police to file a noise complaint when the sound of the tools woke her up. I'd been standing with the crowd for about 5 minutes when the officers came to move us away from the house and rope off the area with crime scene tape. The coroner's van showed up a short while later. It wasn't until the next day we finally got the story. 2 officers had responded to the noise complaint. They could hear the tools running inside, but no one answered the door when they knocked. One of the officers looked into the window and noticed a pool of blood in the living room floor. They called for backup and entered the house. My next-door neighbour had killed some woman, dragged her down to his basement, and was using a power saw to cut her up into pieces. When the police entered the basement, he panicked and used the saw to end his own life. As gruesome as some of the details of this heinous act were, the murder-suicide wasn't the thing that caused the most unrest in my little community. He had a large, hand-drawn map of the town hanging in his basement. Each house was drawn as an empty square, and each square had notes written inside. How many people lived in the house, whether or not they had dogs, the best time and place to enter the house undetected. He also had a stock of photos and a table near the map. He had taken pictures of every house in our street, some at night, some during the day, some from the outside, and more disturbingly, some from within.
The Clown Statue. A young teen is babysitting for a family that is very, very wealthy, in a large mansion filled with a large number of rooms and a vast number of interesting antiquities and artifacts. Strangely though, the father mentions to the girl that once the children are put to sleep for the night, the girl should only go to the basement and not spend her time in any of the other rooms of the house. She could watch television down there and was free to do anything else in the basement, but the rest of the house was off limits. She goes to the basement once the children are in bed, but quickly notices a large clown statue in the corner of the room. It appears to be staring at her. She continues to watch her show, but she can't shake the feeling that the statue is following her around the room with its eyes. She puts a blanket over the statue eventually in an effort to make herself feel more comfortable, and then telephones the father of the children to ask if she can go and move to another room of the house because she is so freaked out by the clown.
You need to leave now. We don't own a clown statue. The children have been telling us that they have been seeing a clown in their room in the night. We thought they were having nightmares. Take the children and get out!
The young girl hangs up the phone, terrified. She turns around, but the statue is gone, leaving behind only the blanket on the floor.
Right, so those were our spooky stories.
Hope you guys all enjoyed them.
Yes, remember, stranger danger this time of the year.
Despite what they look like or what you look like.
They can still come at you, so stay safe, but have a hauntingly good Halloween. Good luck and many sweet nightmares.
Bye, my shadows.